I received a court summons. My brother's wife falsely claimed I SA'd her kids, my own family sided with her, and my mom called me disgusting. But now the truth is out, and they want to reconcile. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Alright, look, I'm gonna be straight with you degenerates. This story's gonna piss you off, make you question everything you thought you knew about the legal system, and hopefully remind you why you should never ignore red flags. I'm 39 now, work as a data analyst, and I've been flying solo for 8 years by choice. Not because I can't pull, I can. Just choose not to deal with the modern relationship circus anymore. Too much drama, too many games, too many ways for shit to explode when you try to walk away. I'd rather crank Metallica, hit the gym until my shoulders scream, and live my life without someone constantly poking at my boundaries to see what breaks. But this cluster shit started when my younger brother Derek hit the tech lottery, and I could smell the vultures circling from miles away. Derek's 34 and had been grinding through startup hell for years, living on ramen and false hope like every other code monkey in Silicon Valley. He's got full custody of 2 kids from his previous marriage, Eliza and Jake, after his ex moved across the country for work. So he's been doing the single dad thing while trying to build his career. Then his blockchain company got bought by Microsoft for stupid money. We're talking retire at 34 and buy an island cash. I wasn't bitter about it. Derek's a solid dude who deserved some luck. I've got my own place, decent savings, built my life brick by brick over 20 years of grinding. But I knew what happens when average guys suddenly start swimming in cash. Every parasite within a 50-mile radius starts sniffing around. Derek went full nouveau riche immediately. Designer everything. Tesla that cost more than most people's houses. Penthouse downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows. Classic new money moves. His choice, whatever. Then that girl, I'll call her Sophia, slithered into the picture. They met 6 months after his windfall. She claimed to be a freelance photographer, but carried herself like old money royalty. Perfect everything. Makeup that probably took an hour. Purse that cost more than my motorcycle. Nails done weekly like clockwork. Said she was between apartments while building her artistic portfolio. But her bad luck? She ran into someone who can spot walking red flags like a hawk at 3,000 feet. I've seen her type before. Twice, actually. So yeah, I knew exactly what I was looking at. Here's the thing about professional gold diggers. They're not the stereotypical trailer park trash with daddy issues. The elite ones are sophisticated predators who study their prey like scientists. They understand psychology, they research targets, and they move with surgical precision. Derek was hooked from conversation 1. Started babbling about this incredible woman who understood his creative vision during family dinners. What freaking creative vision. Dude writes database queries and binges Netflix. Look, I've been around the block enough times to recognize certain patterns. The way some people casually probe your financial situation during small talk. How they gradually escalate their requests once they think they've got leverage. The subtle manipulation tactics that most guys miss completely because they're distracted by other factors. Sophia triggered every alarm bell in my head, and I never liked her ever since Derek first introduced her to us. The rest of the family ate up her act completely, though. My parents thought she was such a sweet girl, and perfect for Derek. My sister kept gushing about how classy and sophisticated Sophia was compared to Derek's previous wife. Even extended family members were constantly asking when Derek was going to propose to his wonderful new girlfriend. She moved in after 2 weeks, claimed her housing situation suddenly fell through, and she needed temporary shelter. Weird how her photography equipment never materialized, though. No cameras, no lighting rigs, no editing setup, nothing that screamed professional artist. When I asked about her actual work, she gave these vague responses about lifestyle photography and personal branding. The money conversation started immediately, too. She'd casually mention expensive restaurants she used to frequent before circumstances changed. Talk about missing her old BMW like it was a dead relative. Drop hints about her friend's boyfriend surprising her with expensive jewelry. Never direct demands. Too smart for that amateur bullshit, but always planting seeds about what quality men provide for their women. At Christmas dinner, I caught her Googling Derek Chen net worth Microsoft buyout on her phone. Not even trying to be subtle about it. Just straight up researching the exact size of her target's bank account. When she noticed me watching, she switched to Instagram like nothing happened. That moment confirmed everything I suspected. This woman was a professional hunter, and my brother was walking around with a bullseye painted on his forehead. The thing is, I tried warning Derek multiple times, but guys don't listen when they're getting regular action and ego validation from someone attractive. Logic bounces right off that hormone shield. Dude, she moved in after 2 weeks and hasn't contributed a single dollar to any expenses, I told him during one of our gym sessions. Claims to be a photographer but owns zero equipment. Think about what that means. You don't understand our dynamic, he'd respond, while benching twice his usual weight. She's been hurt before by guys who didn't appreciate her art. She needs time to feel secure before opening up. Classic response. When Derek gets caught up in the romance and attention, he'll rationalize literally anything to avoid admitting he's being played. So I backed off and watched from the sidelines. Sometimes you gotta let people make their own mistakes and learn from the consequences. Can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. But I was ready for when the whole thing inevitably went sideways. After all, he's my brother. After New Year's, Sophia started pushing boundaries harder. Needed keys to Derek's place for convenience. He told me that she wanted access to his Amazon account to order supplies for her work. Small incremental steps toward financial control that Derek didn't recognize. She cornered me at Derek's New Year's party. Massive event, probably 50 people. She worked that room like a seasoned politician, making sure everyone understood she belonged to the guy with money. Marcus, Derek talks about you constantly. How protective you've always been. Fake smile, hand on my arm. Textbook manipulation bullshit. It's really sweet how much you care about him. I kept my response simple. Just want what's best for my brother. Of course you do. I think there might be some misunderstandings about my intentions, though. The smile stayed perfect, but her eyes went arctic. I love Derek deeply. I'm not going anywhere. Good to know. I really hope we can develop a friendship. It would be so unfortunate if Derek ever had to choose between his girlfriend and his brother. There it was. The threat wrapped in fake sweetness. This bee was declaring war while pretending to want peace. I started paying way closer attention after that conversation. Noticed how she deflected any questions about her past. No stories about family, childhood memories, previous relationships, nothing personal. When people asked about her photography business, she'd immediately pivot to talking about Derek's success. Professional level deflection. Her financial requests got more aggressive and strategic too. Car repairs that cost exactly what Derek had mentioned investing last week. Sister's medical emergency that required precisely the amount of his quarterly bonus. Always urgent emotional crises that demanded immediate financial solutions. By spring, she was floating the idea of joint bank accounts. Started suggesting how generous it would be if Derek helped her parents with their mortgage payments during family dinners. Really touching how much she cared about family financial security, right? Most guys never see girls like Sophia coming, because they don't charge in swinging. They chip away slowly. It's calculated. They ease into your life, test limits, normalize the idea of covering for them just this once. They don't take control all at once. They make you hand it over piece by piece. One small request turns into full-blown financial access before you even realize you've been cornered. But Derek's not completely brain dead. The constant financial pressure finally triggered his suspicion circuits. He showed up at my place one evening looking high. I think I screwed up big time with Sophia. How so? I've been tracking our expenses because something felt off. She claims she's broke, but she's spending constantly. Professional skincare that costs more than my car payment, $8 coffee every morning, weekly nail appointments that run $80. Either she's lying about being poor, or money's coming from somewhere else. I stayed quiet. Let him work through the logic himself. And when I asked to see her actual photography portfolio, real work she's done, she got defensive as hell. Said I was being controlling, that real artists don't perform on demand for skeptical boyfriends. He looked completely defeated. Marcus, I don't think she's actually a photographer. I think she's been playing me this whole time. What's your plan? I asked. Already expected this coming. Confront her directly. Ask hard questions and demand honest answers. If she's lying about her career, what else has been bullshit? I felt genuinely bad for him. Derek's a decent guy who'd been completely broken after his divorce. His previous ex left him to raise 2 kids alone. When Sophia showed up giving him attention and validation, he was vulnerable as hell. He'd been thinking with his emotions for 8 months straight, desperate to believe someone actually cared about him again. Reality was finally cutting through his hormone fog. Be careful when you corner her. People get nasty when their scams get exposed, I said. I had absolutely no idea how nasty this particular person could get. The confrontation went down 2 days later. Derek finally asked the hard questions about money and her supposed career. She tried every manipulation tactic in the book. Tears, victim playing, threats to leave. But Derek held firm this time and demanded actual proof of her stories. When that didn't work, she tried redirecting blame onto me, started making wild accusations about how I'd been undermining their relationship and acting inappropriately toward her. Complete lies, but she sold them with conviction. Derek saw through it and kicked her out that night, cut off her access, changed the locks, told her to disappear. I found out about all this because he called me afterward, shaken up and apologizing for almost believing her garbage about me. I thought that was the end of our Sophia problem. Shows how badly I underestimated what a vindictive psycho does when her meal ticket gets yanked away. 3 days after Derek tossed her out, someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find 2 Child Protective Services investigators and a cop holding official paperwork. Marcus Chen, we need to discuss some very serious accusations that have been made against you. My brain completely short-circuited. Accusations about what exactly? Inappropriate sexual behavior with minors. We've received detailed reports about questionable conduct with Derek Chen's children during family gatherings. Let me be crystal clear about something. I don't like kids. Never have. Probably never will. I tolerate Derek's kids because they're blood family, but I'm definitely not the uncle volunteering for babysitting duty. I help with homework when specifically asked, play video games with them occasionally. Basic family obligation stuff. The idea that I'd want inappropriate contact with children is absolutely ridiculous to anyone who actually knows me. This has to be some kind of mistake. Who filed these reports? Anonymous tip received 3 days ago with very detailed information. You need to come to the station for formal questioning, the cop said. 3 days ago. Exactly 72 hours after Derek kicked Sophia out of his life. The accusations were incredibly detailed and specific. Inappropriate touching during family gatherings, secret conversations with the children, using gifts to keep them quiet about our special relationship. Someone had clearly researched exactly how to make these charges sound credible and stick. But here's the thing that absolutely destroyed me. They said that Derek filed supporting criminal charges. My own flesh and blood brother submitted an official police report for child endangerment based entirely on his psychotic ex-girlfriend's word. Not just cooperating with an investigation, actively pushing for my prosecution on felony charges that could mean serious prison time. They hauled me into an interview room in the basement of the downtown precinct. I sat there, listening to detectives read accusations about inappropriate sexual contact with my own nephew and niece. I realized how completely screwed my life had just become. Such accusations involving children aren't like other types of lies. There's no gray area, no benefit of the doubt. You're either completely innocent or you're a monster. And proving you didn't do something is virtually impossible. They didn't waste any time turning my life upside down. As soon as they let me go after that first round of just preliminary questioning, a team showed up at my apartment with a search warrant. Watched them tear through everything I owned while neighbors peered out their windows. Then came the phone calls. My boss demanding I come in immediately. My parents asking what the hell was going on. My dad got in full freakout mode, practically shouting through the phone, "What the hell did you do?" Just full-blown panic, like I'd personally dropped a nuke on the family name. I tried to explain, tried to get even a single sentence out about how this was all retaliation from Sophia, how the accusations were fake. Didn't even get the words formed before my mom cut in. Maybe if you'd minded your own damn business instead of constantly interfering in Derek's relationship, none of this would have happened to begin with. Look what you've done. You're disgusting creep, Marcus. I'm ashamed of you. My own mother didn't believe me and didn't even listen to me. She was actually blaming me. All. Because I'd tried to protect my brother from a gold-digging predator. I stayed silent because she didn't give me a chance to defend myself. Last thing she said, "Stay away from this family until you get your life sorted out," and hung up. That's when I finally realized my family wasn't just failing to support me. They were actively choosing the comfortable lie over the uncomfortable truth because it was easier for them to believe I was guilty than admit they'd been completely wrong about Sophia. My entire world crashing down in real time. The legal machine moved fast once it got rolling. They seized all my computers and electronics, searched every inch of my apartment, interviewed neighbors about my behavior around children, put me on immediate administrative leave from work pending the investigation outcome, got a court restraining order saying I couldn't be within 500 feet of schools, playgrounds, daycares, or anywhere children might be present, like I was out here dying to hang around sticky-fingered goblins in the first place. In less than 48 hours, I went from successful data analyst to suspected child predator, all because I'd tried to warn my brother about his manipulative girlfriend. And the worst part? Derek knew exactly what Sophia was capable of. He just spent weeks discovering her lies and manipulation tactics. But when she aimed those same weapons at me, he chose to believe every word she said. My own brother picked his lying psycho ex-girlfriend over me, while my buddy Big Jake was the only person who stood by me during this nightmare. We've been tight since college, and he knew the accusations were complete bullshit immediately. I hold mad respect for you, bro. Dude, you barely tolerate kids on your best days, he said, when I called him having a complete panic attack. You literally avoid family events when there's going to be screaming children everywhere. This is obviously revenge from that gold-digging psycho. Big Jake was absolutely right. I'm not a kid person at all. Find them irritating and exhausting most of the time. I'm polite to Eliza and Jake because they're Derek's offspring, but I don't actively seek out time with them. I taught Jake to throw a decent spiral last summer, played some Mario Kart with Eliza a few times. Normal uncle interactions that any reasonable person would recognize as completely innocent. But that's the evil genius of false accusations. They don't have to make logical sense to people who know you. They just have to sound plausible enough to strangers making life-altering decisions about your future. Once the investigation officially started, my entire existence became a living hell. Had to hire a criminal defense attorney who specializes in these cases. Cost me $45,000 upfront just to get representation. He warned me these situations can drag on for years and cost exponentially more before resolution. But that court restraining order was absolutely devastating. Had to immediately move out of my apartment because there was an elementary school 4 blocks away. Try finding decent housing when background checks reveal an active investigation for child-related crimes. Ended up in a shitty studio apartment paying month-to-month rent because no legitimate property management company would lease to me. Landlord was some sketchy guy who didn't ask too many questions, as long as I paid cash upfront every month. Work became exponentially worse immediately. HR called me in for a meeting about the extremely concerning allegations they'd heard about through official channels. Tried explaining it was obviously revenge from a vindictive ex, but company policy was absolute zero tolerance for anything involving children. Terminated on the spot, no severance package, no unemployment benefits. I literally lost everything. 20 years of building a solid career, completely destroyed overnight. All my professional references were poisoned because everyone in the industry knew exactly why I got fired. My entire family obviously abandoned me without hesitation. My sister immediately blocked my phone number when I tried calling to explain the situation. Extended family just vanished completely. Nobody wanted any association with the family child molester. And of course, Derek played the protective father role perfectly for everyone watching. Told the whole family how incredibly difficult this situation was for him personally, and how he absolutely had to prioritize his children's safety above everything else. Made himself the primary victim, while actively helping prosecutors build their case against me. The investigation dragged on for months. 9 freaking months of my life stuck in complete limbo, while forensic experts analyzed every byte of data on my computers, interviewed literally everyone I'd ever known, and searched desperately for evidence of crimes that never happened. My lawyer laid out the brutal reality during our first meeting. If convicted on all charges, 2 counts of child SA in the first degree, 1 count of exploitation of a minor, I was looking at 15 to 30 years in federal prison, minimum. With the enhancement for being a family member, they could push for the maximum sentence. At 36 years old, that meant I'd get out when I was retirement age, if I made it that long. The prosecutor's office takes such cases very seriously, my lawyer explained. They have a 78% conviction rate in these kinds of cases. Even if we can create reasonable doubt, juries tend to err on the side of protecting children. We need ironclad evidence of your innocence, not just holes in their case. So we spent months desperately trying to build some kind of defense. My lawyer subpoenaed everything: Derek's phone records, family gathering photos with timestamps, my work schedule to prove I was nowhere near the kids during alleged incidents. We interviewed every family member who'd been at gatherings where I'd interacted with Eliza and Jake. I was definitely disgusted through all this, for this shit to even be associated with me. And the problem was, Sophia had been smart about her timeline. She'd placed the alleged incidents during periods when it was just family time. No specific events, no clear alibis, just general interactions over months. How do you prove you didn't touch a kid inappropriately during a normal family barbecue 8 months ago? Meanwhile, she was playing the concerned stepmother role flawlessly, although she was just a girlfriend. She'd voluntarily testified 3 times, each session more detailed than the last. Her story was crafted perfectly, not too detailed to be obviously fabricated, but specific enough to sound credible. The prosecutor loved her. A brave woman coming forward to protect innocent children from a predatory family member. She was their star witness, and she knew exactly how to play the part. Eliza and Jake were interviewed multiple times by child psychology specialists. Thank God they're honest kids, because their testimony was the only thing keeping me from being completely buried. They consistently described normal uncle interactions, helping with homework, playing video games, teaching Jake Jr. to throw a football. No inappropriate touching, no secret conversations, no fear or discomfort. But here's the nightmare of these cases. Even when kids deny abuse, prosecutors can argue they're protecting their abuser or too traumatized to tell the truth. The absence of evidence becomes evidence of how manipulative the abuser is. Outside the legal system, it was no better. My neighbors started treating me like I had a biohazard sticker on my forehead. Parents would yank their kids inside the moment I walked by. One paranoid soccer mom actually called the cops on me for lurking near a playground. I was just walking to the damn grocery store. Month after month dragged by with no progress. The prosecution kept requesting delays to gather additional evidence. My lawyer suspected they knew their case was weak, but were hoping something new would surface. I was living in limbo. Couldn't work, couldn't do anything to prove to my mom that I'm innocent. Every court appearance was psychological warfare. Sitting there while the prosecutor described in graphic detail what I'd allegedly done to children I loved. Watching Sophia dab her eyes with tissues while spinning her lies. Seeing Derek in the gallery, supporting her version of events. The worst was a preliminary hearing where they read the full accusations out loud. 20 people in that courtroom heard every disgusting detail of what I supposedly did. The court reporter typing it all up for the official record. My name permanently attached to those words. Through all this, Big Jake became my only lifeline during this period. Brought groceries when I couldn't handle facing the public. Helped with job applications when I couldn't focus long enough to complete them. Most importantly, he never once doubted my innocence or made me feel like a burden. This is straight up character assassination, he'd say, while we lifted weights in his garage. That psychotic bitch knew exactly which buttons to push to completely destroy your life, but the truth always comes out eventually. He was giving me some hope, despite seeing no signs. By month 7, I was ready to take a plea deal. My lawyer had found inconsistencies in Sophia's timeline, but nothing decisive. The prosecution offered 7 years if I pled guilty to lesser charges. Inappropriate touching instead of full essay. 7 years versus potentially 30, my lawyer said. It's not an admission of guilt. It's a business decision. You'd be out in 4 with good behavior. I was seriously considering it. 7 years seemed manageable compared to life in prison. At least I'd still have some years left when I got out. But let me tell you, the only thing that kept me functional through all this was pure burning rage. Absolute fury at Sophia for what she'd done to me, and soul-crushing disappointment in Derek that felt like actual physical pain in my chest. This wasn't some random psychopath targeting me for kicks. This was my own brother choosing to believe the absolute worst possible interpretation of me, rather than admit he'd been completely played by a manipulative cunt. But I'm a stubborn bastard who doesn't stay down when someone tries to destroy me. While I was literally struggling, I was planning my comeback. After 9 months of this nightmare, my lawyer called with news that changed absolutely everything. Investigators had uncovered Sophia's complete digital trail, and it was more damning than we dared hope. Her browser history read like a step-by-step instruction manual for filing accusations. How to file convincing reports with Child Protective Services. Making child endangerment accusations stick in court. Removing unwanted family members through government agencies. What evidence do prosecutors need for successful child abuse cases? She'd literally Googled detailed instructions for systematically framing me. The smoking gun came when my lawyer's investigator tracked down Sophia's roommate through social media and lease records. Initially, she refused to talk, but once my lawyer explained I was facing 30 years for crimes I didn't commit, her conscience kicked in. She handed over text messages between her and Sophia from 4 days before Sophia filed the report. Messages explicitly discussing getting rid of Marcus permanently and making sure Derek never speaks to his toxic brother again. She'd screenshot them thinking Sophia was just venting family drama. Had no idea she was planning to file false criminal charges. Even the most biased prosecutors couldn't ignore that level of calculated premeditation. Her story kept changing dramatically during follow-up interviews with investigators. Originally claimed the incidents happened at family gatherings with multiple witnesses present, then switched to saying I'd taken Jake to my apartment alone several times, except building security footage proved he'd never once been to my place. Then claimed I'd given Eliza a secret cell phone to contact me privately, except phone company records showed no such device had ever existed. Each new version contradicted all the previous ones. Textbook sign of someone frantically making shit up as they go along. The final nail was the timeline. She filed her detailed report exactly 72 hours after Derek ended their relationship and cut off her financial access. The fact that she'd lived with Derek and his kids for 8 straight months, watching every routine, every interaction, and never once raised a concern until the exact moment her financial safety net vanished, wasn't just suspicious. It was damning. My lawyer presented the complete evidence package to the lead prosecutor in a meeting that lasted over 3 hours. Digital evidence of premeditation, text messages proving revenge motive, timeline inconsistencies, and Sophia's constantly changing story. He called me the next morning with the words I'd been praying to hear for 9 months. All charges are being dropped immediately and permanently. The investigation has officially concluded that the accusations were malicious fabrications designed specifically to cause personal harm. I hung up and just sat there staring at the wall for straight 20 minutes. No tears, no celebration, no fist pumping. Just nothing. You'd think I'd be jumping around my crappy studio apartment calling everyone. Instead, I felt like someone had just told me the cancer was gone, but I'd already lost both legs. I mean, yeah, I was legally cleared of all wrongdoing, but the damage to my life was already permanent and irreversible. You can't undo 9 months of systematic reputation destruction. That rage never settled, and I was about to go fucking nuclear against everyone stood against me. I tried going back to my previous company, but they'd permanently filled my position and showed zero interest in rehiring someone with concerning legal history. Other firms in the industry had heard about the investigation through professional gossip networks. Background checks still prominently displayed the investigation details, even though all charges were dropped. HR departments don't distinguish between charges dropped and proven innocent. Both look equally problematic on paper. So, it took me 8 agonizing months to find decent work again, and it represented a massive step backward career-wise. Much smaller company, 30% pay cut, basically restarting my entire professional life at 37 years old. All because some psychopathic gold digger decided to weaponize child abuse accusations for personal revenge. Derek attempted reconciliation after the complete truth came out, showing up at my apartment with this pathetic half-assed apology about how he'd been forced to protect his children and hoped I could somehow understand his impossible position. No, I absolutely do not understand your position. You spineless fucking coward. You chose to believe your manipulative gold-digging ex-girlfriend over your own flesh and blood brother. You didn't just fail to support me during the worst period of my life. You actively collaborated with prosecutors trying to send me to prison for child SA. The kids really miss you, he said with fake sincerity. Eliza asks about Uncle Marcus constantly. Then why exactly can't I see them? Well, my new girlfriend is uncomfortable with the whole history. She thinks it would be better if we waited until significantly more time passes. There it freaking was. Even now, I'm still being punished and treated like a dangerous predator. Derek wants convenient reconciliation where I pretend everything's totally normal while accepting that I'll never have a regular relationship with his children again. Wants me to be grateful he's graciously willing to speak to me while maintaining that I'm still too risky to be around kids. I told him we were permanently finished. Some betrayals simply cannot be forgiven, and some bridges can't be rebuilt once you've burned them to ash. But Sophia? She thought she was completely safe now, got her substantial divorce settlement money, moved to a different city to start fresh, probably already hunting for her next wealthy victim. She was dead effing wrong about being safe. Big Jake helped me research every possible legal option for getting real justice. You absolutely cannot let that psychotic bitch just walk away from this shit, he said while we were working on his Harley in his garage. She cost you hundreds of thousands in legal fees, lost income, and permanent reputation damage. There have to be serious consequences. He was absolutely right. I found a lawyer who specializes in suing people for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and malicious abuse of legal processes. Cost me another $25,000 upfront for representation. But this wasn't just about recovering money anymore. This was about ensuring that actions have real consequences. The beautiful thing about civil court proceedings is that you don't need proof beyond reasonable doubt like criminal cases require. You just need to demonstrate that it's more likely than not that someone deliberately lied and caused measurable damages. We had mountains of irrefutable evidence. Her complete browser history showing systematic research into filing false reports. Text message conversations explicitly discussing plans to destroy me. The suspicious timeline proving she filed immediately after Derek dumped her. Her constantly changing and contradictory story during the investigation. The prosecutor's official written conclusion that her accusations were malicious lies designed to cause maximum harm. We documented every single penny of damage she'd caused to my life. Legal fees totaling $73,000. Lost income from unemployment and career setback, totaling $180,000. Moving expenses, mandatory therapy costs, damaged credit scores from unemployment. Everything added up to $340,000 in direct documentable damages. But I wasn't stopping at just recovery. I wanted substantial punitive damages for the intentional emotional harm, systematic destruction of reputation, and deliberate abuse of the legal system. We were going for the maximum amount allowed under state law. The case took 18 grueling months to work through the court system. Sophia hired some expensive downtown lawyer and tried every possible defense strategy they could think of. Claimed she genuinely believed the accusations were true based on concerning behavioral patterns she'd observed. Said she was courageously protecting innocent children from potential harm. Argued that Derek filing criminal charges proved her concerns were completely credible and justified. None of her bullshit worked. The evidence was absolutely overwhelming that she deliberately fabricated everything for personal revenge. The major breakthrough came when we deposed her roommate under oath during discovery. This girl broke down and admitted that Sophia had explicitly described her detailed plan to completely destroy Derek's brother, using false child SA allegations. Apparently, Sophia had been quite proud of her sophisticated strategy, bragging about how she'd researched the most effective methods to permanently ruin someone's entire life. Big Jake attended every single court hearing, taking detailed notes and providing unwavering moral support. This is real justice finally working the way it's supposed to, he'd say after each session. The jury deliberated for 6 tense hours before returning their unanimous verdict: guilty on all counts of defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and malicious abuse of legal process. Total damages awarded $850,000, more than double what we'd originally requested. The judge's closing comments were particularly satisfying, and I quote, "The defendant's actions represent a calculated and malicious attempt to destroy an innocent person's entire life through systematic abuse of our legal system. Such behavior cannot and will not be tolerated in this courtroom." But the problem is, Sophia didn't have $850,000 just sitting around waiting to be claimed. So we immediately started garnishing her wages directly from the source. 25% of every single paycheck automatically deducted before she even sees the money. I placed legal liens on any property she attempts to purchase. If she receives inheritance in the future or divorce settlement, which I know this bitch will, we're first in line to collect. She desperately tried declaring bankruptcy to escape the judgment, but you legally cannot discharge court awards for intentional wrongdoing and deliberate harm. This debt follows her forever, until death or full payment. Big Jake helped me track her current financial situation through public records and court filings. She's currently working retail management at some department store chain, making approximately $45,000 annually. After we take our legal cut plus normal taxes, she brings home maybe $2,800 monthly. Try maintaining any kind of gold digger lifestyle on that pathetic budget. The absolute part that satisfies the hell out of me? Every single time she applies for credit, seeks a new job, or tries to rent somewhere decent, our massive court judgment shows up prominently on all background checks. Potential employers and landlords immediately see that she owes nearly $1 million for filing false child abuse accusations against an innocent person. But here's the thing this whole experience fundamentally changed about me. It made me infinitely harder, more cynical, and less trusting of literally everyone. I don't give anyone the benefit of the doubt anymore. Don't assume good intentions from anyone. Derek's ultimate betrayal taught me that even blood family will throw you directly under the bus when supporting you becomes socially inconvenient. The accusations still follow me around like a shadow, despite being completely vindicated and proven innocent. Potential employers still Google my name and find articles about the investigation. Even though I was totally cleared, even though Sophia was definitively exposed as a lying, manipulative gold digger, the reputational damage remains permanent. Derek still sends holiday cards every year asking for reconciliation and family healing, wants to move past this unfortunate situation and restore family harmony for everyone's benefit. Eliza and Jake are full teenagers now. They probably barely remember Uncle Marcus, who used to help with difficult homework and taught them various card games. That reality hurts me more than anything else. Losing meaningful relationships with kids I actually cared about because their father chose to believe a manipulative psychopath over his own brother. My parents occasionally suggest through other family members that I should let bygones be bygones for the sake of family unity and moving forward. Real easy for them to say, especially after they didn't even listen to me while I was trying to defend myself. But I sleep peacefully every single night, knowing that the gold digger faces real consequences for her actions every day of her life. Every time she receives a paycheck and sees that money automatically deducted. Every time she applies for credit and gets immediately rejected. Every time she tries to move forward with her life and her malicious past catches up with her. Some people think I'm being vindictive and should move on, that I should have accepted the criminal case dismissal and focused on rebuilding my life. Those people have never had their entire existence destroyed by lies. They've never watched their own family choose comfortable fiction over uncomfortable truth because it's easier to believe. Big Jake perfectly summarizes the situation. You didn't just win money back. You sent a clear message to every other psychotic gold digger out there. The monthly garnishment payments remind Sophia of that message every single month for the next 3 decades.